I have a habit of going inwards and disconnecting from everything when I'm not feeling good or when I'm not this perfect persona. So like when I'm not this happy, bubbly, like intelligent, like persona that I give to everyone, I feel like if I can't maintain that in my intimate relationships, I'll like pull back and I just won't see people. And so I kind of like put myself in a castle and remove myself from real connection and then post more on social media. Like that is just a pattern that I've found that I do.
Gotcha.
If I'm not feeling well, I'll retract from real life connection, put myself in the castle and post online until I feel better and I can come back out. But then my intimate and close relationships are missing like the whole spectrum of me, which is that vulnerability and like the ability for me to move towards my relationships when I'm feeling like I need to be supported. And so I think that like I have been vulnerable in my closest friendships in the past month with saying that I'm sorry that I have pulled out of our relationship. It's because I like to be alone when I'm going through things, but I want to come towards you.
Here we are, finally.
Yes.
Welcome, Zoe.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So this is What Are You Hiding podcast. And so for our listening audience sake, you recently did a shadow work online course with me hosting called Shadowboxing.
Yeah.
I thought we could maybe talk a little bit about that first.
Sure, I'd love to.
Would you? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So if we could begin with maybe just share a bit about what your experience was like on that course, during that course.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you've done that, I'd be interested to hear what's been going on for you since you finished the course, because I haven't seen you for 6 or 8 weeks.
Yeah, wow. It's been that long.
Time flies.
Yeah.
It? So, yeah, would you like to share a bit about what it was like? And just for our listening audience too, do you mind just saying how old you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm Zoe and I'm 21. I'm a full-time student. I'm studying acupuncture, Bachelor of Health Science. I work part-time in Byron. I've grown up here. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, my experience with shadowboxing was amazing. Definitely have had a lot of shifts since I undertook that course.
Have you? Well, let's start with what's been going on since the course. When you say what shifts have you noticed? Like what, can you describe some of them?
Yeah, so I think the main shift that I've really noticed is that I feel a lot more alive. I've been thinking about this and I don't know how else to put it, but like my actual experience of the world feels more real than it has in a very long time. I feel like I'm like seeing things clearer. I'm experiencing things clearer. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I went through like a big metamorphosis, especially after the course ended. I feel like in the course a lot of things came up, but I was feeling a bit of resistance still. And then after the course ended, like certain things just became so clear to me. And I feel like I definitely gained like a new perspective of looking at myself and the world that I can't like let go of now. Like now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it,
Awesome.
which has been great. But yeah, challenging.
Challenging, yeah, but judging by that smile on your face, also exciting and
Oh,
inspiring.
it's been, it's
so,
amazing.
So it's like you're looking at the world through a new set of eyes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And look, I want to point out too to our audience that you were the youngest person on that course by at least 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
And, I want to acknowledge you and commend you for, I was quite surprised. I didn't think a shadow work course would attract somebody of your age. And that's not condescending or patronising. That's just, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
But then as I pointed out on the course, I noticed pretty early on with you that what I see in you is leadership qualities. So it doesn't surprise me that, you show up for something like this.
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited that you got a good result out of that course, and the kind of result that sounds like it's going to set you up, well for your life coming up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You feel this shift in that you're seeing the world newly and more clear than you had before, and you feel more alive than you did before.
Yeah, I feel like I'm acting in a way that's more authentic. And Yeah, I think that my relationships have deepened a lot. That's probably the biggest result I've gained from the course, is that I've been able to show up in ways that I haven't been able to in years, just by having a lot more accountability for myself and the ways that I act.
Awesome. Great. So in the course, during the course or after the course, it became clear to you that some of how you were showing up in relationship, you weren't taking accountability for it?
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of the ways I was.
Right. So this is what shadow is, isn't it? So our shadow is the bits of us that we're unawares of.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're unaware of it, we don't know that we're not showing up, and therefore we don't need to be held to account. But I wonder if maybe people were attempting to point out to you some of the ways you were showing up, but you were in denial about it. Is that?
Yeah.
It is the case, is it?
Yeah, I think I could hear other people's opinions about me clearer, and I was asking the questions. I was asking how I could show up better. Like, if you were to point out one flaw in me lovingly, what would it be? And I started asking those questions instead of like being scared of hearing things that I didn't want to hear.
Yes.
And that really opened up many doorways.
Wow. So you started to ask friends and people close to you if they would mind pointing out what some of your blind spots were.
Yes.
Because you're now interested in looking for those blind spots rather than hiding from them.
Yeah, and it's like the people who love you can see them because it's not their blind spots, it's yours. And so they always have something to say most of the time.
When you ask them what are my blind spot, they're happy to tell you.
Yeah.
And so how's that been for you? So you've asked some of your dear friends and people if they could point out some of your blind spots or faults, and they've been doing that?
Yeah.
And then you've been able to hear it?
Yeah.
And own it?
Yeah.
Look, that's pretty much what shadow work is.
Mm-hmm.
So well done. You've really taken to it and embraced it. And it sounds like maybe there's been a little resistance, but it sounds like there's been more like pulling it to you rather than pushing it away.
There's definitely been some big conflicts and some like blowouts in that, especially with my mother. I've had some heated arguments where I've really had to I've felt so much resistance hearing those things, and then have to really sit with myself and be like, actually, yeah, I do that.
Wow.
It just takes.
Wow, I'm thrilled to hear you say things like that, because I was a rat bag. Well, look, I was a product of my upbringing, and I certainly behaved in a way that my parents didn't approve of, but then they certainly behaved in ways I didn't approve of either. So
it's always it.
Yeah, it's a chicken
Takes
and egg
two
thing.
to tango.
Yeah, but I don't know if at 21 I would be ready to admit how I was being.
Yeah,
it wasn't until I was in my 40s that I really started to look at how I was showing up as a child of my parents.
Yeah,
I had a lot of complaints about my parents.
Yeah,
but I never looked at how I was as a son.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I did, my relationship with my parents really improved.
Yeah.
Because I looked at how I was being. It was before I was just pointing the finger at them.
Yeah.
So your mum began to share with you things about how you show up as a daughter.
Yeah.
And at first you felt some resistance, and it caused conflict and a blowout.
Yeah, and even I did ask the questions, but also just after doing the course, and even when I just committed to doing the course, things just started to come up. Like, as soon as I committed to the course, all of these conflicts started to arise, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is so crazy. And so I think that, I just had a few moments where my mum was just kind of lost it with me, and she just told me how it was. And we have that relationship where she'll kind of let me go, and she'll be really nurturing and kind until it gets to a point, and then she'll just snap and tell me exactly what I need to hear. And instead of denying that, which I'd do in the past, I had open ears to it. Which
wow.
That was what definitely changed.
I bet your mum was thrilled about that.
Yeah.
So that she now, her daughter can hear her.
Yeah.
It would take a lot of frustration out of her parenting, I imagine. And so did your mum know you were doing the shadow course?
Yeah, she did.
What was her idea about that? When you first told her that, what did she think?
She was thrilled that I was doing it, but also I feel like we have I I guess there's been a bit of tension in the past about me diving into things because I feel like it brings up things and then I act in another way and she gets worried about that, like what things will get brought up, and because I live with her, how that's going to affect her in the environment. But overall, she was thrilled and happy that I was doing it.
And overall, things have improved at home?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow,
yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You should have your mum on one day.
Yeah.
Have a chat with her. So you brought up an interesting point, and I do prepare people who take the course. Before they take the course, I say to them, like, when you register in this course, between that point in time, that day, and the day the course starts, things are going to start coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a good explanation for that because, you know, our shadow's in our unconscious mind.
Yeah.
And our unconscious mind, it can't do anything without permission from the conscious mind. And so this is kind of how hypnosis works. And so when you register into the course to do your shadow work, that's your conscious mind telling your unconscious mind, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have my permission to start pushing things up into my awareness. Because I believe I'm ready to face them, whether I'm ready or not.
Yeah, it's happening.
And then what happens is a whole bunch of stuff starts coming up, right? And at one point, I imagine you felt quite alarmed or
oh my God,
overwhelmed, distressed, any of that?
The second week, I was like, I shouldn't be in this. Like, I wrote in my journal, like in the journal that we had in the course, like, I'm feeling really like out of place. Like, it's just, I wanted to give up, honestly, second week, and then just push through. Yeah,
well, look, big ups to you for not giving up. And I anticipated that would happen.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I did mention in the preamble and the preparation for the course that could happen. And if that does happen, please contact me. Let me know where you're at because I want to support people and let them know that that's, you know, our shadow doesn't really want to be discovered.
Yeah.
It's quite happy where it is hidden. We put it there. We created our own shadow.
Yeah.
And then it's quite comfortable running the show in the background. It doesn't want to be found out. But then when we go looking for it, it starts kicking and screaming somewhat. And so it makes sense that there was this conflict between the conscious part of you and the unconscious part of you.
Yeah.
And a lot of credit to you for being willing to be able to endure that distress part and then recommit to the process. And the results speak for themselves.
Yes.
And so I guess I want to say to the audience listening that if you were interested in doing shadow work, then that what you're sharing, Zoe, is a real likely phenomenon, is that you may get overwhelmed by what you've begun and want to run. Yeah,
I'm so glad I persevered though. And I also had Quinn by my side, so that really helped. Like we were speaking a lot and that helped have someone that could hold me accountable. And
Quinn's a good friend of yours, and I know Quinn very well, and she knows quite a bit about shadow work, and she's quite strong in that area, and so I imagine you felt well supported. Yeah. Awesome. I'm glad she had your back.
Yeah, and also like being able to post in the group and share with the group was amazing. Like that was the week that I made that big post about what had come up for me in sharing in the group.
Yes.
And to be supported and held by the container really like gave me the courage to keep going.
So you got a lot of positive feedback from the other group participants?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
That was the whole idea of setting up that community group, is that I know I can't hold you all the time.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of strong personalities in your group, and I knew that, I know some of them quite well, and I knew that it would be a supportive group. And you do need support when doing this, because like you said, you know, all this stuff starts coming up and you start freaking out. Like, what's all this dark, shadowy, unknown bits of me that all of a sudden want to reveal themselves. And so have you shared enough about what's been coming up since the course?
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything,
not going into detail, but overall, I've just felt so many shifts and I'm feeling like I'm in a much steadier place than when I began the course. I was actually in quite a dark place when I started the course. Yeah. And I feel like I've just isn't
that interesting?
Changed a lot.
Yeah, you're in a dark place.
Yeah.
And then you looked in the dark, because that's what the shadow is. I'm going to look in the dark, hidden bits.
Yeah.
And then the answers came, and now you're in a lighter place.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, because that's Jung says this, the only way to the light is through the dark. We can't avoid it.
Yeah.
the word guru.
Mm-hmm.
Gu means dark and ru means light. And so guru means to the light through the darkness.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's
Yes,
awesome.
yeah. So you'll learn that in Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
There's a syndrome called Gu syndrome, which is a dark shadowy syndrome, and I had it.
Oh,
Yeah, which was part of my shadow
yeah.
learning was to go through Gu syndrome. I won't talk about that on this podcast,
Yeah.
but I'll share about it on another one. So yeah, look, I'm delighted and really pleased with what you're sharing, and it just gives me so much more. I mean, I've already got a lot of passion and desire for this work that I'm doing, but when I hear results like that, what you're sharing and what that makes possible for you, your family, but also other people, I just can't stop doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that's a bit about what's come up since you did the course. Can you say anything, or do you want to share anything about the actual course itself, what it was like, what you did, or what the experience was?
Yeah, so I started the course and we have the introduction call, which is like where we meet everyone. And it was awesome just to see like the people that I was going to be journeying this like experience with. And that really made me excited like early on, like as soon as I don't know, saw everyone and like all these faces, and I could feel like the power and the type of people who had committed to the course, and I felt like I was in good company. That was really nice. And then so we have the weekly calls where we kind of discuss what's coming up for us, and then also the weekly content, which I honestly was a bit slack on. And I think that has to do with the fact that I won my position in the course and I didn't invest myself, like I didn't invest the money. And I think that like when you're doing something like this, like to invest the money means that you're investing yourself more in part, because like money is energy and time and So I think that I was a little bit slack on the course content, but I really enjoyed it, like the journal prompts and the videos were great, and I love that I've got them now as like a resource.
Right, yeah, because you've got lifetime access to that stuff, right? Yeah, so when you met everybody, and you know, people who come to do shadow work, they've usually already done quite a bit of work on themselves. Yeah. And this can be not necessarily the last piece, but a significant piece of, you know, personal development and growth. Yeah. And so they were a strong group, and there was men and women, and of course all of them were older than you, and they were from different walks of life and different career paths. Which I loved, yeah. Yeah, so it was quite a diverse group of people. Yeah. But you felt supported once they introduced themselves and shared a bit about themselves. Yeah, I felt safe. Awesome, cool. Yeah, and then that's a good point that you bring up around that you did win, and congratulations on winning. But you still got a lot out of it. Yeah, but the point you're making, and this is a valid point, and this is why I've actually raised the price of the course, because when I initially, published the course, I had the price too low. Yeah, and I did some thinking about this and had some conversations with some people, and I got clear that the more you invest in something in terms of financial resources and time, the more you put in, the more skin you have in the game. Absolutely. The more you're going to do the work, and the more fully you're going to engage in the process. And the more you engage in the process, the bigger the results. Yeah, I believe that fully. Yeah, and you got pretty decent results. Oh, yeah, and I was still committed, but I think that there is that element that was maybe missing. Right. So had you paid more for it, you would have maybe put more work in. Yeah, no, but I still did the work. Yeah, I know you did. Yeah. So the course was what you enjoyed the course? Yeah. But it was challenging and difficult at times. Yeah. Yeah. And you've had some blowouts and some conflicts with your mum. But so here's an interesting point too, is that conflicts are inevitable. They're unavoidable. Yeah. Life is, if life is anything, it's conflict. And so a lot of people, and I do coaching with individuals and couples, and quite often this thing about avoidance comes up, and one of the things people avoid is conflict. And I definitely do. Yeah. And the reason generally that we avoid conflict is we're not skilled at it. Yeah. And the more skilled you are with conflict, the more comfortable you are with it. And you've had some conflict with your mum, and it sounds like, well, through doing the shadow work course, one of the things you got was, rather than get defensive and deny these things, I'm going to sit here and listen and see if there's some truth in the feedback I'm being given. Yeah. And if there is, I'm going to own it, because they're probably just pointing to some of my blind spots that I can't see about. Yeah.
And the more that it stung and the more that it hurt and hit
Mm.
deep, I was like, oh, then there's something here.
Yeah, right.
Like I was like, oh, that's like, why do I feel so bad about that? Like if it wasn't true, I wouldn't feel that way.
Correct. Yeah,
You
it would
know.
just be water off a duck's back.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, that's not me.
So when your mum pointed some of these things out to you, they were probably things about your behaviours or ways of being.
Yeah.
And when you took accountability for that, did that change how you showed up?
Oh, yeah.
It did. So you were able to change how
Yeah.
you were being.
So it was pretty much being self-absorbed.
Yep.
And being selfish. When there's something going on for me, it's like that's all that's going on, and I kind of like, if someone else has something going on, well, like too bad, because like it's happening for me and that's all that matters in my world. And so that's like a huge thing that like I've been able to step out of that way of being and like be able to feel what I'm feeling, but also hold space for other people, which I do. Like when I'm in a good place and I have capacity, I'll hold space for other people. But as soon as I can't, I just don't cope with it well. And I think that's what she was trying to get through to me.
Yeah, and she got through to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You were ready to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's worked a treat for you, because now you can do two things at once. You can be aware of what's going on for you, but also aware of what's going on for others at the same time.
Yeah.
And not make it all about you.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be about you.
Yeah.
But it, as long as it can also be about others as well.
Yeah.
That's a good lesson to learn, isn't it?
Yeah, especially with like the field I'm going into, and like I'm not always going to be feeling 100%, but you know, do my job.
So you're going into Chinese medicine. You're going to be seeing clients and working with them. Yeah, and you might be having a rough day, but the client's having a rougher day.
Yeah.
You're going to put you have to park your rough day somewhere else.
Yeah.
And show up for your client.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And that's true. Like I worked as a nurse for 30 years, and it's true for nursing, and any nurse would know this, that you could be having a rough day, but your patient comes first. I would work 12-hour shifts without having lunch.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wouldn't go to the toilet. That's not healthy.
Yeah. It's like there is a balance, I guess, between like respecting yourself and like having boundaries, but also like, not it always being about you.
That's right.
And I think that does also come up a lot more in like close relationships than like your career. I feel like there's a difference between like I've noticed like my close relationships and the way that I show up in like a career role or
You notice it more in your close relationships.
Yeah, like I feel like that's where the real shit comes out.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Are you in a relationship? Like a
No, I'm
intimate
not.
relationship?
Not at the moment.
Right. And have you been in one before?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Many.
What's that?
Many.
You've been in many relationships. Yeah. Many short ones, I imagine, because you couldn't have been in many long ones.
Pretty short.
Okay. I've had many relationships too. We won't go into my relationship history. That would take a whole nother podcast.
Come on.
You really want me to go there?
No.
Okay. I've had many short relationships and very few long committed relationships. That's been part of my shadow.
Yeah.
Is a fear of commitment. My mum had been trying to point that out to me my whole life, and I just denied it. And, no, what do you mean?
Oh.
I'm not afraid of commitment.
Yeah.
And she was right.
Yeah.
She could see what I
Yeah.
could see.
Mothers normally are pretty right about
Yeah,
these
they know what's
things.
going on, don't they?
Yeah.
So now I'm in a committed relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's worked.
Lovely Beck. Yeah.
Yeah, and it works great.
Yeah.
Just to commit.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier on, you were saying that you did quite a bit of shadow work during the course, but that you're aware that I don't think I've done all of it. I still think there's some stuff there, and so that's the stuff we could go looking for. How do we do that? How do we find these hidden parts of ourselves?
Yeah.
Well, I can't see your shadow. I can't see your blind spots. Sometimes I can see people's blind spots.
Yeah.
Not always.
Yeah.
So we have to create a means and a way of finding those bits of our stuff that we don't know about ourselves.
Yeah.
So we need to know where to look.
Yeah.
And so there are a few ways to find it. So do you have any idea about that?
Yeah.
You do have an idea.
So the biggest thing that I got from the course of how to find the shadow is, and I feel like I've always done this to like an extent, is whenever I feel a negative emotion about someone and I judge someone or I look at someone and I make an assumption, seeing that as like that's an unintegrated part of my shadow. So if someone is being selfish, then it's probably because I'm I see myself in that person. And that became like so much stronger for me after doing the course. And that's the main way that I find my shadow is the looking at other people and watching the assumptions and the judgments I make towards other people.
Awesome. And that's an excellent way to find some of your shadow. You won't find all of it that way, but you'll find a good chunk of it.
Yeah.
So when I'm having a negative judgment about somebody or a strong emotional reaction, or I'm making assumptions about them, then that's informing me about aspects of my shadow that I could look at and discover something new about myself. So is any of that going on for you at the moment? Are you having any strong emotional reactions to anybody, or have any strong negative judgments about anybody?
Not as much anymore. I feel like I did really have that self-righteousness piece come through, which still does come through when I like see other people doing something that I don't think is good for them. And like I think that I know what is best for other people. So that like is if someone's eating something that's bad for them or doing something that's maybe not like healthy, I can be quite critical in that way, or self-righteous. Yeah.
So
that's the main one that comes up.
Yeah, so that's good. So that's actually shadow awareness, because what you're saying is, I know I can be righteous and I know I can be critical of others.
Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of shadow when you don't know that you can be that way.
Yeah.
You're being that way,
but
you don't know that you're being that way.
Yeah.
Plenty of people are really righteous and they think they know what's best for other people and are happy to tell them.
Yeah.
So I'd just like to inquire about that. So do you know what's best for everyone?
No.
Do you know what's best for you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You probably got a better idea.
But probably not all the time.
Not all the time. So you can catch yourself sometime, and I can do this too, like being a bit of a know-it-all, and I think I know what's best for other people.
I constantly catch myself going, I know. Like that's something I actually have noticed is that I always say I know, especially when like people are trying to explain something to me. That's maybe something else, but.
I got given a compliment recently by a friend of mine. I was doing some coaching work with, he's a coach, and I was doing some coaching work with one of his groups. And afterwards he said, one of the things I really like about you, Pete, is that when you don't know something, you say that you don't know.
Yeah.
And I took that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Because
it is.
That just, if I said I know when I don't, then that would be shadow.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of stuff I don't know.
Yeah.
There's way more that I don't know than what I do know.
Yeah.
And half of what I do know is probably inaccurate.
Yeah. And if you just pass it off to like, I know that, you're just like, you're not really listening. It's just like a palm off.
Can be.
Yeah. Well, for me.
Do you do that sometimes?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So now we're hitting on something. So sometimes somebody will be saying something to you and you will respond with, I know.
Yeah.
And at that point you've stopped really listening.
Yeah. Like I'm just like, I know. But it's like something that I do know, but it's like I'm cutting them off. It's like, I know that. And I don't want to really listen to what else you have to say about it.
Well, that's a bit of honesty creeping in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, this is really good. I like where this is going, because this is really important, because communication, is everything in relationships. And so sometimes someone will be talking to you, talking with you, and you are either bored or you don't want to have the conversation. Yeah. And so you start saying, I know.
Yeah.
In an attempt to kind of shut it down.
Yeah.
Or take it somewhere else.
It's with specific people. But yeah.
What kind of specific people?
Like my mum.
Hi, Mum.
Yeah.
Say hi, Mum.
Hi, Mum.
So your mum will be telling you stuff or having a conversation with you, and you go, I know.
Yeah.
That's a pretty common thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
With, parents and their offspring.
Yeah.
So I wonder if what she's sharing with you is she's not sharing it with you because she wants you to know, but she's sharing with you for a whole nother reason.
Yeah.
But you're interpreting it maybe as that she's telling me this because she wants me to know it.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's like I know that she's not saying it in a way that she thinks that I don't know, but it's like I want to know it all and I don't want to seem incompetent in some way. I don't really know how to I don't know how to explain.
No, you just did. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
I don't want to be seen as incompetent.
Yeah. And that's something that comes up in many areas of my life.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just have it out. Can you be incompetent?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. Was that hard?
No. But like I can say it now, but like that's probably one of my biggest shadows at the moment.
Owning owning where I'm incompetent.
Yeah.
Look, at 21, it's unlikely that you're going to be competent in all areas.
Yeah.
Very unlikely.
Yeah, and like I'm still learning, but it's like I have such high standards in myself. It's like I need to be perfect at everything all the time.
That perfection streak.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's another good one to have your eye on.
Yeah, it's one of my biggest ones.
So you're really hard on yourself.
Oh yeah.
Very high standards.
Yeah, I'm a Virgo moon and sun. Don't know if that means anything to anyone, but it's a.
It means to me. I'm a bit of an amateur astrologer.
Yeah. And a Capricorn rising.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of.
Yeah, responsibility and critical self-criticism and perfection. A lot of Virgos are known for that perfectionist streak.
Yeah.
So, so it's interesting. So when we talk about shadow, so Jung came up with the concept of shadow, and we have a persona, and that's the social mask that we wear. And that social mask is designed to give off a good impression of ourselves.
Yeah.
Or in your case, a perfect impression. And then Jung came up with this concept of shadow, and he said the shadow is what's behind the mask.
Yeah.
Yeah? So you're presenting a persona or a social mask, and you're wanting yours to be perfection.
Yeah. It's a hard one to
live up to.
To keep up with.
Oh, yeah, you must be exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because so you have this desire or need to be competent and perfect. Where do you think that comes from? Virgo sun, Virgo moon?
No, like, yeah, but like, I'm sure it's a way that when I was younger, like, learnt how to receive like love and approval maybe, but also like just living in this society, like it's a lot of like you need to be perfect, you need to present this perfect persona, especially with social media.
Were you raised by your parents, or were you raised by social media?
I was raised by social media, I'd say more. Like I learned a lot of the information that I use on a day-to-day basis, like definitely came from social media.
It's funny because I had a conversation with a young person.
Great question.
Yeah. The reason that came up was because I had a conversation with somebody, it's going back a few years now, a young person, and I said, oh, you must have been raised really well by your parents. And they just looked at me and says, I wasn't raised by my parents, I was raised by social media.
Yeah.
And that impressed me. I'm like, well, social media has that strong influence on people.
Yeah.
And look, one of the things about social media is that it presents a persona, a social mask of everyone's got a perfect life.
The highest degree. It's like the ultimate mask.
Yeah. We need to come up with another platform where people are showing all their imperfections.
Yeah. I mean, you can make whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
Which is, I try to do.
So do you think that there's a part of you that's attempting to live up to the high bar, the high standard that's misrepresented in the perfect world of social media?
I think so. I actually, like, it's hard to admit, but I think that I do present a persona of myself that when I am with someone in real life, it's like it takes energy to maintain that persona, and that's something I'm really trying to deconstruct at the moment. Like even in my close friendships, is that like I post so much on social media, but then when I'm with someone, it's like a close friend even, like I felt like I was feeling a resistance between the way that I've been portraying myself and the way that I am. Like I'm not this perfect, like namaste, like have it all together all the time, like always eating good food and like practicing Chinese medicine and like, I don't know, I feel like I would definitely portray that, and then I'm like so much more than that, and that's like, I don't know, so I've definitely felt a resistance, and I've really been trying to deconstruct it lately.
I wonder if there's a connection there between, so you were saying that when you were younger, maybe one of the reasons you developed this persona of being competent and perfect was that it was a way to get affection or attention from your parents. And then maybe with the social media, it's about getting the likes.
Yeah.
You know. So
feels good. Dopamine hit.
Yeah, every
get a like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely document way too much. Like I feel like I'm always posting everything that I'm doing.
Okay.
And I think that's like definitely a shadow aspect there.
So what are you up to by posting all this stuff?
I don't know. Like I mean
hang on a sec.
I don't know.
A good psychologist friend of mine said there's no such thing as I don't know.
Yeah.
There's just an uncomfortable truth I don't want to face. So if there's an uncomfortable truth that you don't want to face about why you post so much, what would that be?
I think that I'm definitely trying to like attract like people that are like-minded. And I think that I do that through social media, and it has actually brought me a lot of connections. But I also feel like I know I definitely like to go on my phone and see that like someone relates to me or like is connecting to me. Maybe it's like a connection thing, and it's like it's not real. It is real connection, and like I think social media is amazing, but it also I feel like has deprived me of real connection, and I've substituted that for like a very long time, maybe like the past 1 or 2 years. I feel like I've substituted real connection with this connection that I get through social media, which isn't as like fulfilling to like my soul.
Sounds a bit like my pornography addiction that I used to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd substitute real connection for virtual connection.
Yeah.
So in the last couple of years for you, you're saying that you're getting more connection, virtual connection through social media, and maybe what's suffering is your real life connection.
Yeah. I think that like I'm definitely working on that at the moment, and I've changed that a lot. But like that's been in the past like 1 or 2 months. Like I've really started to like show up again in like my real relationships.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're being more real in your real relationships too.
I've been given some truth bombs in my relationships and being really vulnerable and honest, and that's really helped me rekindle those relationships that I think I've let astray a bit.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because in my experience, certainly with my partner, but also with friends and others, there's something beautiful that happens in intimate relationships where we are vulnerable.
Yeah.
And it's somehow
so powerful.
the vulnerability that brings the connection.
Yeah.
And I think this is what is lacking in social media, is that people aren't really being vulnerable. They're posting these perfect personas of themselves. And not everybody, but most people are doing that. And like you say, maybe what they're looking for too is likes and connections and dopamine hits, and but it's a poor substitute for the real thing. Yeah. So by you being more open with these hidden parts of yourself or bits that you haven't owned before, you're being more vulnerable. Yeah. And you're finding and feeling more connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I definitely feel like in my close relationships, I kind of let go of them. I have a habit of going inwards and disconnecting from everything when I'm not feeling good or when I'm not this perfect persona. So like when I'm not this happy, bubbly, like intelligent, like persona that I give to everyone, I feel like if I can't maintain that in my intimate relationships, I'll like pull back and I just won't see people. And so I kind of like put myself in a castle and remove myself from real connection and then post more on social media. Like that is just a pattern that I've found that I do. Gotcha. If I'm not feeling well, I'll retract from real life connection, put myself in the castle and post online until I feel better and I can come back out. But then my intimate and close relationships are missing like the whole spectrum of me, which is that vulnerability and like the ability for me to move towards my relationships when I'm feeling like I need to be supported. And so I think that like I have been vulnerable in my closest friendships in the past month with saying that I'm sorry that I have pulled out of our relationship. It's because I like to be alone when I'm going through things, but I want to come towards you is like, that's something I've been working on.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if there's another element to it where if I show up as the real me, people won't like me.
Yeah, that's what it is underneath all of that.
Yeah, I had a client recently, and that was similar thing was going on. And she's, I think, close to 40, and she has a perfection streak as well. And that was one of her fears, was if I just show up as I actually am, then I won't be liked.
Yeah, that really like touches something in me that just like I can be like I can be upset and I can be angry or hurting and I can still be around people and show that, and I'm still going to be loved.
That's what I'd go for. I'd go for that.
Yeah.
Just show up as your authentic self
Yeah.
all the time. And those that love you as you are, they're your people.
Yeah.
And those who don't like you as you are, well, they're not your people.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're still people, but it's not your people.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you can still, I think that's something, I used to have a similar thing where I needed people to like me, and I was a people pleaser and had all these other strategies for that. But as I've matured, that I've learned that I don't really care that much about what other people think of me.
Yeah.
But I do care about what I think of me.
Yeah.
And that's changed a lot. So, you don't have to be your perfect self around me, and I'd like to see all the different shades of you. You know, I'm actually curious about, like, what do you like when you're in a bad mood, or when you're pissed off, or when you're angry, or when you're hurt.
Yeah.
And
not nice.
Yeah, that's all right. And
Yeah.
all nice is a bit bland.
Yeah. I mean, that's
yeah. In my current relationship, my partner shows up in many shades of grey, and I'm learning to love all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's possible for you too.
Yeah.
That you can be loved and liked just for your authentic self. And you're already starting to feel that a bit, aren't you?
Yeah.
With your friends and your mum.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I just lost it for a while there, for a good couple years, but I'm coming back, and I would say that that's thanks to the course.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Well, that's a big acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Good plug for my course.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously me too, but I think that really was a catalyst.
Yeah, it is you. It's definitely you. You did the work.
Yeah.
The course is just designed to show you where to look and how to go about it. And so I'm glad the course is working. That's how I designed it. Now, I want to bring up something, if I may, about using telephones while driving.
Yes.
Can we go there?
Yes. Let me have a sip of my tea.
Let's have a sip of water.
Yeah.
So I'll also share some vulnerability about this too.
Yeah.
Because I think it's fair that we both reveal our shadow.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about you and phones and driving. And do you have your license at the moment?
Yeah, so I currently have a suspended license.
Okay.
I'm serving 3 months suspension, and I'm on my second month because of being on my mobile phone. So, yeah, I was caught driving and texting, and I was on my green Ps, so I only had 7 demerit points, so I lost my license. It's been hard not having a license in this area.
Do you notice you're smiling when you're telling me that?
Yeah, I mean, I actually feel like it's been a good thing for me.
Okay, that's why you're smiling.
Yeah.
Because you see the lesson in it.
Yeah, I really see the lesson in it.
How's it been a good thing for you?
First of all, I am probably not going to go on my phone again. I feel like maybe I will. I don't know. I feel like I still haven't properly, if I'm being honest, I feel like I could check my phone again.
While you're driving?
Yeah, while I'm driving, even though I've had this 3-month suspension.
Oh, well, they need to suspend you longer next time.
Yeah, but the good thing that's come from it is having no license for 3 months really made me just stop, I think.
I want to explore this deeper. I think you're being too superficial about it. Okay, so why are there laws and rules against using your phone while driving?
So that you're safe and you're protecting others.
Yeah, not only that you're safe.
Yeah.
Because remember you were talking about before how you make it all about you?
Yeah.
Right. This is still a little bit of hanging around.
Yeah.
So the real reason, I mean, if you want to talk on your phone while driving and you're on the nullarbor and there's no other cars around and you want to hit a light pole.
Yeah.
Up to you.
Yeah.
But you don't really, this is just me getting on my high horse here. I don't think we have the right to put other people's lives at risk.
No.
For our shadow,
Yeah.
with our shadow.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
It is.
Now you're not smiling so much.
No.
So the reason you don't have your license is because you were doing something that was putting other people's lives at risk.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that now, really?
I feel shameful about it, and maybe that's why I just made it a joke and laughed it off.
Yeah.
Because it's not good at the end of the day, and the fact that I can't even connect with the reality of what that action could do. I could kill someone.
Yeah.
I could kill myself. It's really there's a lot of gravity and weight to it. And I think that even when I tell people that I lost my license for being on my mobile phone, it's never like taken seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really full on.
Yeah, good. Now you're getting to the gut of it and the core of it and the shadow side of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll share my experience with
Yeah.
you. And so I have an agreement with myself that I've had in place for at least 5 years that I don't touch my phone while driving.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, I know the risks of, most accidents aren't caused by speed or alcohol. They're caused by inattention.
Mm-hmm.
That's what causes most car accidents. Using your phone while driving causes a lack of attention. That's what's going to cause an accident. Someone could die, not just you, but someone else. So that's the reason I have this agreement with myself to not use my phone while driving. And I've kept that agreement for the last 5 years, except for on one occasion. And my partner was driving her car about an hour north of here to take it to the mechanic, and because her car wasn't working, operating properly, and could break down. And so I was driving on my way to work into town, and the road I drive on is on a mountainside with quite steep drop-offs, and it's a winding road. And as I was driving into work, the phone rang, and I just ignored it. And then I thought, oh, that could be Beck, and maybe she's broken down.
Mm-hmm.
So I flipped the cover of my phone open, and I saw that it was her. So then, against my better judgment, I've answered the phone and attempted to have a conversation with her.
Yeah.
While I was doing that, because I wasn't paying attention, I didn't realise there was someone behind me in a car.
Mm-hmm.
And that person, and I also didn't realise I'd slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
And so that person got frustrated and wanted to overtake me, and I didn't know this was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And there were double white lines, so they're not supposed to overtake. And because I wasn't paying attention and looking at my phone, I started to veer across to the right-hand side, and I've actually cut this guy off and sent him off the road, and he nearly spun out in this gravel and flipped and was going to go down the embankment.
Yeah.
And he was able to self-correct and get back on the road and drive off. Now, I nearly killed someone.
Yeah.
Now, I was really, like you, I felt instant shame around that, guilt, and real displeasure, and I was really displeased with myself.
Yeah.
I was cross with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I gave myself a good talking to.
Yeah.
I said, you do not have the right to do that.
Yeah.
So I've recommitted
Mm-hmm.
to not touching my phone while driving.
Mm.
And I'm going to follow it through this time.
Yeah.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
And, so what if Beck had broken down? I
Mm-hmm.
could go another 100 yards down the road, find a place to pull over,
Yeah.
and then call her back.
Yeah.
So from a shadow perspective,
Mm-hmm.
Our shadow is what we're unaware of, or what's
Mhm.
hidden about us. And so I've got this, I call it a shadow personality. I've named him Shifty Pete.
Mm-hmm.
So Shifty Pete likes to get away with stuff. So that's who was messing with me that day.
Yeah.
I thought, I'll just do this once, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Well, it nearly wasn't okay.
Yeah.
So I don't have that luxury
Yeah.
to acknowledge Shifty Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Shifty Pete's a personality that I've known him a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been pretty shifty and dodgy in my life. I've done all sorts of dodgy, shifty things. I've stolen,
Yeah.
cheated, all sorts of the nonsense that, young men get up to.
Yeah.
But as I've grown and matured, I've decided to live a more wholesome life and a more
Mhm.
honest life. And so I don't steal, I don't cheat,
Mm-hmm.
I don't lie.
Yeah.
And from now on, I don't touch my phone while driving.
Yeah.
So what shadow work has taught me is that there's these other parts of me that are hidden. And if I
Mhm.
don't have my eye on them,
Mm.
they're going to be running the show in the background and creating a mess of
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah. Even the fact, like I just said, that I have served this 3-month time and now I still can't commit to myself that I'm not going to go on my phone. Like that is,
We're not leaving here
Shady.
until you do commit.
yeah, like even just you saying that story again, like I feel myself like ready to commit to it.
Mm.
And it's like just weird that like I can't, like I feel like my shadow is too strong that I would do that again, but I can just commit to it and not do it again.
You can, can't you?
I can.
What's it going to take?
Yeah, just doing it. You just commit.
Do you want to commit in front of the whole world? I doubt the whole world will hear this podcast. Do you want to commit to the people that do
Yeah.
hear the podcast? What are you committing to?
I'm committing to not touching my phone while I'm driving.
Okay, I hear that commitment now, but you need to take another step,
Yeah,
because
underneath that.
what's the other step you need to take? Because you need to increase the chances of that not happening rather than just because you say so.
Yeah.
Because sometimes just because you say so doesn't get the job done.
Yeah.
You need to take at least one more step.
As in acknowledging.
You've already acknowledged it, so you need to take another step.
I don't know what that step is.
Well, maybe you put your phone in the trunk of your car.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like an action.
An actual step, an action that's going to increase the likelihood that you fulfill on that agreement you just made.
Putting my phone in the glove compartment on silent.
Yes.
Or there's even an option where you can turn off do not disturb during driving, which I haven't turned on, which is a great tool.
Okay.
To just turn on.
All right.
And no one can ring you or contact you while you're driving.
How are you going to remember to do that?
I'm pretty good at remembering. Like once I make a commitment, I'll do it.
What about if you put a little note on your steering wheel or something for the first month?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Is it?
Don't go on your phone.
Yeah.
You could kill someone.
Yeah.
Like just make it, put it out there. That's what's could happen.
Yeah. Look, I think it's, the reason I'm taking time with this is because I like you and I care about you, and I'd hate for you to have an adverse experience because of a behaviour that you could correct.
Yeah.
And it's only going to be your show that's going to stop you doing this.
Yeah.
And you're not smiling anywhere near as much now. And I like that. I like this side of you.
Yeah.
I like this kind of serious, more tone of I need to grow up.
Yeah.
And stop being weak.
Yeah.
And listening to that weak, shadowy voice in my head that says, I'm going to pick it up anyway. Yeah. Who's that I'm talking to?
Yeah.
That's not you. That's a part of you.
Yeah, obviously.
It's a part of you want to have your eye on.
Yeah.
All right. I'm really glad we're talking about this, and I hope a lot of people do hear this podcast.
Yeah.
And particularly people who use their phone while driving.
Yeah.
And who knows how many lives we might be saving, including you.
Yeah.
Would you rather be known as someone who saved a life than took it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. So, awesome. You're not going to use your phone while driving. No. And nor am I.
Yeah.
You can hold me to account to that, and I'll hold you to account.
Okay.
I might even call you occasionally.
Not while I'm driving. No, I'll be on to do not disturb in the compartment.
Okay, so look, I believe you. I think that you will do what you can to not use your phone while driving.
It's in there now.
We needed to take it a bit further, didn't we?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
It's hard to it was hard to see that one. Even the way I handled speaking about it in the beginning.
Yeah, you were too blasé.
Yeah. And
that blaséness, is, and look, it could be a thing to do with your age and maturity. I know when I was 19, I thought I was invincible. Yeah. I thought I knew everything. Yeah. I didn't know shit. Yeah. I wasn't invincible. I was probably at the most reckless and most vulnerable in my life. Yeah. And that's just a lack of awareness and maturity. And so, yeah, I'm excited about the fact that you're not going to use your phone while driving. But there's no need to.
No. There's not.
It was good to see the serious side of you when we had that conversation, and you really felt into it on a deeper level. Yeah. And got more real and more vulnerable with yourself. You'd be so it's I don't want to think about or imagine, the alternative. Yeah. I'd like to finish on a high note. Yeah? We done?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Zoe. It's been an absolute delight. And I can't acknowledge you enough for your vulnerability and courage and for going where you went today. And I salute and celebrate you.
Thank you, Pete.
You're so welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.